Okay, good evening, everyone. Time is 5:32. The April 11th, 2024 meeting is now called to order. So the agenda for tonight's meeting will be a government-to-government meeting with the Suquamish tribe. We will start with welcoming and opening remarks by Tribal Chairman Leonard Forsman.
Marshall Hill, thank you for coming over to Suquamish and to the Port Madison Reservation for this important meeting. And we have a few new faces in the room, so I thought we could start with the introductions here at the table.
Yeah.
So I'll pass the mic.
Thank you everyone for joining us. My name is Laura Lee Morissette and I'm recently newly elected here to Suquamish Tribal Council. Sohail Asher Bore. I'm a newly elected tribal council member and I'm the traditional food and medicine program coordinator here for the tribe.
Good afternoon, Irene Harper, Suquamish Tribal Council Secretary and Port Madison Enterprises Chief Operating Officer. We're just waiting on the rush. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Bree Martinez. I am School Board Director for Area 3. I'm the Vice President and I'm also the liaison for the Kingston area. She's heard it.
Hi, I'm Stacy Mills. I'm the North Kitsap School Board District 5 Director and also the tribal liaison to both the Suquamish and Port Gamble-Squamish tribe.
Good evening, I'm Rick Eckert, School Board Director for Toronto Area 1, and I'm the legislative representative for the board this year.
Thank you. I am Alexis Wint, and I am an administrative assistant for teaching learning department.
Okay, and Mike Desmond, Director of District 2, President, and also WIA representative. Thank you.
Rachel Davenport, interim superintendent and secretary to the board.
Welcome everybody. I'm Josh Bagley, Vice Chairman, Suquamish Tribe.
Hi, I'm Beverly Godfrey, District 4 Representative and City Council liaison.
Good evening, Brenda Guerrero, the Director of Education for the Suquamish tribe.
Good evening, Luther J. Mills, Suquamish Tribal Council Member and Port Madison Enterprise Ambassador.
Okay, once again, thank you everybody for getting together, and I'm here to work on these important issues. And been around a little while, and you've probably heard my reflection on this relationship. It's always good to revisit the fact that this reservation established by 1855 with Chief Seattle, and since the treaty was signed, we've been working on trying to maintain our culture in the face of great efforts by the federal government to assimilate us and to eliminate our standing as a tribe and threaten our sovereignty, and also erase our culture and our language. So people didn't intend that to happen when the treaty was signed. The treaty did put aside promise of education. We expected that education to be here on our reservation, but that never really truly happened, and eventually we were all, our ancestors were forced to attend, mandatorily forced to attend the Twilight boarding school primarily. So that's always been something that our current generation is trying to overcome through some of the things that were lost in that process. Since then, we've been able to attend public schools and look upon the school district and the state and the federal government to provide that education that was promised in the treaty. Folks here at the school district are part of that. We believe part of that promise, and that was one of the main reasons we like to have these annual meetings, to make sure we check in with each other on how things are going. I think that we've had our ups and downs. We've made progress, and we've had setbacks, but I know people in this room I've gotten to know pretty well, and I would give up on trying to make a positive impact on all of our students and bring more, tribal curriculum into the schools, bringing more of our culture and language, value systems into the schools, and educate each other. Do that because it's the best use of our students. So, once again, welcome, and I'll let you check.
Okay, all right, thank you. So I just wanna open with a couple brief remarks. First, most importantly, thank you for hosting us here today. It's an honor and privilege to be here, at your facilities today, so we look forward that we can continue doing this, and I like the idea of coming to your facilities for this meeting, so. This is my first time conducting this government-to-government meeting as the board president. So when I was preparing for it, I was trying to take a couple minutes to think, how I wanted to try to guide this meeting, and the first thing that I thought about is, purpose. What do we want to try to accomplish at this meeting, for that, and, I think, for me, and I'll speak for the rest of the board to take in other comments, is just continue to grow the relationship, between the two groups, and foster a, partnership, with that. So I think the biggest thing is, what I wanna try to do this evening is just be open and honest, just not, be afraid to bring up specifics. I mean, sometimes I feel like we come together and we try to address issues, but the best way to do that is just gonna be getting down to specifics. And sometimes it might be uncomfortable talking about those, but I think we all have the same goal in mind, to do that. So anytime that, when we're going through the recommendation, if we can, bring up examples that will help us, just kind of get into the weeds, to try to do that. So I think the important thing is we're all committed, working towards the same goal, and that's, to improve the relationship and improve the quality of education and the quality of life within the schools for, the Suquamish tribal students and all students in general with that. So, just looking forward to the conversation. And again, thank you.
You introduce yourself?
Yes.
Okay. Jay was kind of hiding. Thanks, Brenda, for getting here. From your conference. So she was able to get here, and some folks that are here as well, and welcome our acting superintendent. And just that, as far as maybe you've never been in here before, you see all the paddles on the wall. These are representative of our canoe heritage. And as you know, many of you know, the Suquamish were a marine tribe. We didn't live on a river like other tribes did, so we moved out into the waters of the Salish Sea and traveled far and wide in our canoes. And when we hosted the last leg of the 1989 paddle at Seattle, we had the cultural resurgence that came around with canoe journey from the Suquamish. So we are very active in that with our two or three canoes that the tribe itself has, and a number of family canoes. And then every year we usually get a gift of a paddle from a different tribe. As we started to collect those, our past executive director suggested we have these in our council chambers. So many of these were gifted to us by different tribes. So we're really proud of those. And of course, we have some that were made by one of our late artists, a member of Lori's family here. His spirit still lives on with the work that he did for us as well. So I'm really proud of that part of our heritage. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn over to Josh. Josh is going to go ahead and read our statement regarding some of the goals that we have, and requests that we have, and observations that we have with the district. And then I think we have a couple members of the Tribal Parent Committee. Does anybody here want to add on to that once he's done? Okay, you ready, Corey? Okay, and Corey will follow up with the statement after Josh reads those.
Okay. North Kitsap School District The Squamish tribe continues to work to improve and foster a better working relationship with the North Kitsap School District. Our priority remains our children. Therefore, we will continue to advocate for a safe and exclusive quality learning environment at NKSD. This can only be achieved with an open and honest dialogue between the Squamish tribe and NKSD. Following our recent meeting, we provide the following requests, questions, recommendations, and concerns. 1. The Suquamish tribe is requesting that the NKSD school board members and administrative staff show respect for the Suquamish tribe's culture and sovereignty through genuine efforts to learn and understand the structure of our Suquamish tribal government, culture, practices, and values, and our strong history of self-determination. 2. The Suquamish tribe is requesting timely and ongoing communications between NKSD, administrative staff, school board, and the Suquamish tribe's education department. Director pertaining to significant changes that affect current and future Suquamish tribal member and descendant families, with students attending or scheduled to attend NKSD. The Suquamish tribe is requesting that NKSD administrative staff work directly with the Suquamish tribe's education department to include the success of tribal students in the NKSD district plan and clearly outline in district-wide policies and procedures. 4. The Suquamish tribe is requesting that NKSD school board and administrative staff leverage the Suquamish tribe's culture, expertise, and inherent knowledge to support district programs and or services pertaining to tribal students. 5. The Suquamish tribe is requesting regular and ongoing opportunities for both tribal leaders and community members to engage in opportunities to provide input, feedback, and implementation of services provided by NKSD. 6. The Suquamish tribe is requesting that NKSD explore methods to efficiently share and use tribal student data to support student performance and outcomes. 7. The Suquamish tribe is requesting that NKSD explore methods to develop and incorporate culturally appropriate and realistic performance measures for student data collection. 8. The Suquamish tribe is requesting both Suquamish and Port Gamble-Sklallam tribe representatives seats on the NKSD Ethics Committee when the committee is established. 9. The Suquamish tribe is requesting Skyward and Google Classroom access for the Suquamish tribe academic coaches who work directly with students and teachers to increase the student outcomes and success. 10. The Suquamish tribe is requesting regular and ongoing reporting to both the Suquamish and Port Gamble-Sklallam tribes of the total dollar amount of impact aid received by NKSD and where the funds are being allocated. 11. The Suquamish tribe is requesting that NKSD address parent and community concerns regarding the safety or lack of for K-12 students due to bullying and other bias-based behaviors, causing emotional and psychological harm and interfering with students' ability to learn. 12. The Suquamish tribe is recommending that NKSD provide K-12 students healthier meal options to include lower sugar and sodium items. 13. The Suquamish tribe is recommending that NKSD explore other methods for administrating state testing that may result in more accurate individual, student, and district-wide data by considering age and developmentally appropriate testing, preparation, and administration. 14. The Suquamish tribe is requesting that NKSD address the parent and community concerns regarding unconscious input and implicit bias towards tribal students, resulting in alarming reports of disciplinary action. We have shared responsibility for students. The education of tribal youth is a shared responsibility among 3 sovereign units of government: tribal, federal, and state. The NKSD should always recognize that all parties are united in their concern and responsibility for students. We look forward to receiving your response to the Suquamish tribe specific questions enumerated above. We also look forward to great cooperation and more open, substantive dialogue that better meets the Suquamish needs. Thank you.
Okay, Cory, did you have something to add?
Here, right here.
Oh, I got Josh and Ellen.
Okay. I was just gonna make her.
My name is Corey Sylvie, Suquamish tribal member, NKSD parent, and NKSD ITPEC chairwoman. The reason for taking time on the floor this evening is to help elevate the voices of the parents who have Indigenous students attending North Kitsap school districts, and especially those parents attending monthly intertribal parent education committee meetings. Each month, parents of Indigenous students meet together and with Native liaisons and education staff discuss upcoming events, current trends and concerns, recommendations for professional development, and other issues or important topics impacting our Indigenous students. Our meetings average between 2 to 3.5 hours, with anywhere from 20 to 40 participants each month. From these meetings, we've learned that parents of Indigenous students attending NKSD are seeking a higher level of support and action from both governing bodies to help ensure that our students are embraced while attending school, safe while attending school, and uplifted to achieve and succeed in academics and in life. Our Indigenous students are playing sports for the district, participating in clubs and band, bringing their culture into the classrooms, sharing our stories and teachings, inviting their favorite teachers and staff to our community events and celebrations. Our students are also experiencing discrimination, alienation, and consequences greater than the behavior. Not every Indigenous student has these experiences, but some do, and some is too many. We take our responsibility of raising our children seriously, and although the language and messaging is conveyed differently most times, we too enforce structure, guidance, redirection, consequences, and most importantly, age and developmentally appropriate expectations. Hear us when we say that we are working hard to foster and protect the relationship we've built with our children, where they are treated as equals, asked for their perception, perspective, and truth, where we strive to live in harmony with one another and keep our homes safe and free from judgment and shame. We recognize our children as an extension of ourselves, and in the same sense, your teachers and staff are an extension of you and your leadership as a school board. With that being said, please consider leaning into our recommendations. Please consider partnering with us towards making positive and necessary changes to increase and ensure student success. And more importantly, please lean into us as capable and dedicated parents of Indigenous students who care deeply for our children. This government-to-government meeting is a reminder that regardless of who sits in these elected seats for both the tribe and the district, the output of action and the level of engagement coming from these seats impacts our current and future NKSD Indigenous students and parents always. I look forward to progress, and I thank you for time and consideration.
Thank you, Corey. So go ahead, we'll hear from the district.
Sure.
You need to get your mic.
Sorry.
Go
I was gonna say that.
ahead.
So I thought that, we will be responding to the letter. So I figured the best way to do that is if we could just go through each one of those, each one of the 14 items, and just give a chance to ask any clarifying questions.
Sure, if you have any, I mean,
Yeah.
if you can address 50% of them, I think we'll be in good shape.
Sure.
14's a long list, but,
Yeah.
You feel free to hit for 1,000 if you want.
Sure. Yeah,
And I know that some of them would take some research.
Exactly, and that's why kind of, like I mentioned in opening remarks, is I just want to try to pull to see if there's any specifics,
Sure.
that we need to, so take for example number one, so is it, the tribal council's feeling that the school board is not showing respect for the tribe culture, or just, you know, or is it just important that we continue to point that out and make it a point of focus? Is there any specific things for that one?
Well, I think this is probably somewhat in reference to the graduation event. I would think
Okay.
it's one of those that was front and center. So it's just an example of just trying to avoid, making changes in the protocol of our relationship without consultation first.
Okay.
So that's.
Perfect, I appreciate that, yeah,
So
exactly, so.
and I mean, and we'll, we can let you know when we do something unintentional, so.
Yeah, exactly.
As well, I would think, capable of doing that, right, Brenda?
I am sure.
In a good way.
But it helps us, you know, it just by making that a one of the 14 items and your comments, it helps us to understand how important that event is, so that when the family
Anybody
comes up, take that.
having to add to that?
I think there was a concern with, where I think it had a former superintendent that was acting on behalf of the board. And again, this is a government to government, but yet we felt that, the superintendent was, the one we were getting.
Yeah, and I understand that, I mean, that still is gonna be the case, I mean, the superintendent, is, we will work with the superintendent, I mean, she has the most knowledge. I try to keep as informed as possible, but, I'm not a professional educator, so, we're still gonna lean on the superintendent to help us, and that's why she was kind enough to bring her staff, this evening too.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say too, I think a lot of it was the past superintendent and not working with our superintendent closely enough as we wanted, or and cause like Jay said, I think this meeting is for us to work together, for us to work with the school board, and then our superintendent, or Brenda and your superintendent should be the ones working together below us.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fair.
We understand that, I think we understand that you're volunteers, so for the most part. I'm sure you're drawing big salaries.
Some people don't actually know.
But, and we're fortunate enough to have some paid positions, but understanding you have to rely on a professional relationship, and we understand that. But we just wanna make sure that Brenda's first stop,
Okay.
and then we can work out from there when stuff is needed, if you need, you need to delegate, and we really need you to talk to the chairman and one of the council members, if you get a hold of them for me. There's some logistical things that sometimes they reach out to us for.
Okay, understand.
But when we can work with your liaison too, as well.
Yes.
I appreciate Brenda, we've met a couple of times already, and just being able to reach out and Brenda's availability, both Brenda here and Tony as well, I see she's in attendance too. It's been really, responsive anytime we need anything or have questions, so we appreciate that.
Awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's why I said the past superintendent, because you guys have been working together a lot better already, so that's awesome, thank you.
Okay, any other questions on number one?
I would
Hold
just say, there are times, so when the tribe has events that you would like us to have, let us know. Because sometimes there's events that it's, not being part of the tribe, it's not sure if they're meant for those not part of the tribe, they're meant for the public, and we don't wanna presume and come, show up. So if there's an event that you're holding and you would like us to be part of it, please invite, let us know, and I know we'll try to be there when we can, but
Right.
we never wanna presume, so it's always helpful to let us know what things you would like to see us at.
Sure. We can do that. We'll make sure that, I think you're 55 now, by now, Rick?
Wait, well,
Dang it, I'm waiting to get to the front, I'm trying to get to the front of the line for the food.
I'm 53 tomorrow.
Oh, okay, well, you'll have to wait, a little longer. Don't be too much of a rush. Okay, sorry about that, I didn't wanna sing.
I know you.
Yeah.
I just wanted to, see if I can request if we work our way up from the bottom to the top, because the ones from the, top were recommendations really
Makes
from
sense.
last year.
Okay.
So if we could address at least the bottom
Sure.
4 right now, that would be great, thank you.
Okay, yeah, what I had, written up for 14 is, do you feel that, tribal members are aware of the reporting process for any specific issues that occur? Or is that something that we can help, educate on that?
No, they are aware of the reporting process.
Okay.
It's just the way that things are being handled at the school district. I think mainly our concern right now is with the Kingston Middle School, with some of our children that are attending, the way that they're being treated by staff, is really concerning. And it was brought up at our last IPEC meeting, so
Okay.
it was.
I'm not aware of any current reports and investigations that we've received, are we?
I'm not. But,
Okay.
I know, that the representative from IPEC, and Corey, if that's you, when we meet, when we meet in, I think the avenue that we discussed, and if there's a different avenue to have those come to us, but the avenue that, Brenda and Tony and Gwen and I discussed was that if there is, those type of complaints made that are coming from the IPEC meeting, that they go to our ITED meeting so that we get those. If they're immediate complaints, then they go specifically to the principal, and assistant principal, so.
Yeah, it's just that if a formal report's not made, it never really rises to our level, so we're not really aware of that, so any way that we can educate them, or if they feel like there's any barriers to them reporting, like they don't feel comfortable or anything, those are the things I'm interested in. I'd like to try to eliminate so that we can get them through the process and they have an avenue to appeal that, any decisions are made, so it's just more formal in nature. That's all I would hope for.
And I will say that I believe one of the last year's recommendations talked a little bit about culturally responsive and the differences in cultures and students and how we treat each other in school. And I will say that we brought in August and then again in February, Ben Abali, who talks about culturally responsive classrooms, how to intervene immediately if you're a staff member, not just a teacher, but paraeducators or food service workers that witness things that go on, a safe way to intervene immediately instead of allowing it to continue, and then that student is dealing with it when they go to their next class, which may impact their behavior in that next class. And so we brought that trainer in, and I know it's something that we are gonna continue to work on. And at our last ITED meeting, Brenda and Tony brought another professional development around, and I'm gonna get the name of it wrong, so Brenda, I'm gonna look at you. It was the blanket training where we lay out the 50 blankets, and it was around, sorry, I'm gonna get the name of it wrong.
It's Kairos blanket.
And they were both very, listening to them explain it was very impactful to them, and we talked about how weaving that into our beginning of the year training and professional development for our staff as well.
Would you say NKEA is aware of the issue?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, Ben Abali's a WEA trainer for the State Education Association, so trains with all of the teachers in the state.
So I don't wanna leave this one just hanging out. I would say that we acknowledge the issue and are aware of it and will continue working on it. And then just ask that, we just partner together to help people actually file formal, complaints or issues so that we can address them.
Right, and I do have monthly meetings with, Suquamish Elementary, Kingston Middle, but we haven't been able to meet for a couple months because of a conflict in our schedule, so I haven't been able to talk to Adam about that,
Okay.
the issue that's coming up, but we do have a meeting on Tuesday. Yeah. So I will talk to him as well, so, about some concerns that we do have.
Okay.
And then with, Kingston High School too, I meet with Miranda there too, so.
Okay.
Kingston Middle
sorry, he's our new Kingston Middle School principal back here.
Okay, 13, I'm gonna have to lean on you because a lot of this is around testing, so the first question is, you know, what are we mandated to do for testing, and how much wiggle room do we have there, you know, that we can explore other types of testing?
Yeah, when, they were sent ahead of time, so Josh, thank you for reading them. One of my big questions was, what do we want to solve with this? How do we want to tackle this? Because there are some requirements, but if there's something that, is going on there, that's inappropriate, or if somebody needs a small testing environment, we have a lot of different tools for state testing, or is this individual curriculum testing? So that one I had a lot of questions on.
I'm gonna invite Corey up, because this was brought up at the impact meeting, so, and I'm not sure if it was at the last one or the one that prior, that I wasn't at, so.
Thank you, Brenda. So amongst parents, the conversation, we ask for data often at our ITPEC meetings. And we don't only wanna see our Indigenous students' data, but we also wanna see it compared to the district. And we're not necessarily asking for you to throw out state testing, and we're not saying that there doesn't need to be an evaluation and measurements and data to compare to. What we are saying is that some of our practices and systems in the school district are old. They're testing methods that we experienced as students going through North Kitsap school districts. And we're confident that there are other ways to test our students that truly reflect their academic success. There are small steps like making sure that all of our students who have IEPs are offered those testing accommodations. But more than that, we know that our students don't test well under pressure. We know that testing for 4 to 6 hours a day isn't best practice for our kids. And so we're hoping that through this recommendation, the board and the superintendent can use it to say, see, this might not be working, and here's this group of parents and students as evidence. And we too want to see the data, and we want to celebrate when the data looks better than it did the last year. But we also know our children, and we know that when they're coming home from those testings, they feel that they didn't do well. Leading up to testing, they are feeling anxious because of the messaging around it, that it reflects the teacher's practices, that the school wants to look as though they are being successful, and that pressure being messaged to the students is impacting the data that you're receiving. And so we're just asking that you explore some other options, that even some of the earlier steps could be talking to teachers about how to prepare their students for testing, that you're doing as well as you can. What do you need to feel prepared tomorrow morning? I'm so happy that you're here and we're gonna get this done, and let me know if you have any questions, that those smaller steps can even show us changes in our data moving forward. And so we're not asking for you to throw it out, we're just asking for you to explore some other ways to conduct those testings, so that when we see that data, it truly reflects the students that you have attending the school, especially ours.
Thanks, Corey. Would it be beneficial to, maybe at the next IDPEC meeting, share some of the universal tools? I know state testing is just one test, so I will just tell you from a kiddo that's coming up, I have a daughter who's gonna have to do the state testing again, and she went all the way back to last year and said, oh, it took me 3 days to do the writing, where it took some people in my class just an hour. And this is a year later and it's still impacting her, so I understand how any way we set up our kids for success for that type of testing and telling them it doesn't matter how long it takes, how important prepping them is. Would it be beneficial to help, like, show the parents, maybe have Brenda and at IDPEC and Val show our parents like universal embedded tools that are available for every kid, regardless of IEP or 504. I'm not sure if everybody knows those are available for every student. There's both embedded and non-embedded tools, and then there's designated supports that are also available for every kid, embedded and non-embedded, and a lot of people don't use those. And then accommodations, of course, for 504 and IEP, but it may be beneficial to even, to show you, I don't know, that, like, your awareness of all of the different tools that are in there, but
Yeah.
show our parents that too.
I think information sharing would help us understand more of, like you said, what's available and what can be practiced, and then opening the conversation to how those tools are used in each of the classrooms and whether or not the professional development is there for those teachers to offer the tools and accommodations. So yes. Thank you.
Yeah, go.
Yeah, so when I read this, I thought more of the test itself, but what I'm hearing you say is more, it's more the social, emotional, and the support of the student around the testing. Am I hearing that right?
Yes.
Okay.
If we can get to a point where we throw it out, that would be great. But in between now and then, how we conduct the test, yes. And it's important for you guys. I mean, we rely heavily on our data as a sovereign nation. We use that to apply for funding. We use it to measure our own success. And so we understand how important the results are. But we want to make sure that our students come home feeling like they did their best, and they come home feeling like their teachers, in however many classes they're in, gave them the accommodations and the support they needed to do the best that they can. And then when we as parents see that data, we don't have questions around how it was conducted, but we have questions about what that data is telling us. And we too can provide recommendations to tribal council, the school board, Brenda, Tony, and anybody else who wants to hear us.
Well, I think we have a lot more control about how we give it than what we give, so I think that's good. These are the kind of things that we probably need more grounds on than the test itself, because a lot of that's directed. But like you said, making the kids feel more comfortable, making sure that kids and the parents and the teachers all know the options. I had a kid that needed to pull out testing in another room, more time. If we just stuck them in there and gave them the test, yeah, it wasn't going to do so well.
Yeah.
So I fully understand that. So.
Well, then by high school, you're teaching these kids how to advocate for themselves, which is a skill that they're going to need in college and in the workforce. So you're kind of you're dabbling into.
Just hold on there.
By the time our students are in middle school and high school, if they know too what kind of accommodations to ask for, you're giving them some life skills to be successful beyond school, which I'm sure every teacher would like to feel that they accomplish by the time those students graduate. So, yes,
Well, I'm a former teacher, so I've given that test many times. And it is frustrating for the teachers and the kids because we're trying not to make it stressful for them. But on the other hand, we know we want them to show what they can do and do their best. One of the accommodations that I hope all the teachers are using is there's practice questions. And in our classroom, we would give the practice test question, just one question, earlier in the year, and then we would talk about the results, and I would have the kids tell me, well, why did you choose that one? And a lot of times it was, they misunderstood what the question was asking. And once the kids could tell, oh, well, I chose it because it said this, and someone else said, well, but that's not what they meant by that part. And it really was helpful for the kids to have that dialogue between themselves, and helped me understand why that question was confusing to them. And it made a big difference in kids who were at 2s instead of 3s, because it was just a few questions and they would have been at standard.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things about culturally biased testing that we run into is that one of the things that when we did the study back in the day when it came out System of Memorial curriculum was that there were 3 things that we found would help student success minimally. The minimum 3 things was more native teachers, more travel curriculum in the schools, and no more culturally biased testing. So one of the things we thought about was like this team approach, whereas maybe instead of the individual sitting by themselves, because as a community or a tribe or whatever, you work together, you know, people have different skill sets, and we work as a team, so sometimes I think that's right where maybe they're having that group discussion about tests.
Makes a big difference.
Makes a big difference, so glad to hear about that.
I would like to add on to that request. Last year I requested when we get our data from the district, it only shows our Suquamish kids. If we can get, again, I'll request it, to get the whole school's data along with ours so we can compare how our kids are doing compared to everybody else as well.
Yeah, and just a reminder, the individual, school connections meetings that we do, with each school, the presentations for those, I mean, for the most part, we're usually breaking out as cohorts. And so, just by going through and looking at those presentations, you probably get a good idea, but I think we can figure it out. Okay, so yeah, I think that, I appreciate the feedback. I think that the two big things, data sharing, I think we can definitely address that, and then the messaging for the testing, I think that's important, and that's important for all students to, you know, the actual, mandate of state testing, that, is probably not something we can tackle right now, so, we're limited by that. Okay, so 12, I thought was a great recommendation, dealing with, school lunches. I think the biggest thing there to point out is just making sure that parents are educated on that, you know, when you're talking about school lunches, there's kind of two different things. I mean, there's, when you're looking at the prepared, basically think tray lunch that you're serving the students, that's one thing, but then there's also additional items that they can go purchase. And maybe that's where these are coming from, because when you look at the actual tray plated lunches, those are usually set menus that have to go through USDA guidelines and everything, so is that fair to say?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
I made a couple of notes just from meeting with our food nutrition service director, and he talked about the options, and so having a few kids myself, I know if they're looking at a thing of Fruit Loops or, you know, some breakfast yogurt, he might choose those Fruit Loops. And even though I don't want him to, but I do want to say that there are options there, and so some of it might go back to what Corey was saying before about educating, and talking to our kids about, hey, that's probably not a great option for him. Even though yogurts have a lot of sugar too, you may want to choose some of the fresh fruit or dried fruits. Even some of the juices are high in sugar, so you may want a milk or something. So it does go back to educating the kids there.
Yeah, so but I think if there's specific items probably on the we're not gonna say offering side, you know,
Yes.
energy drinks or something like that, you know, that's something that I would definitely wanna know about, you know, that I think that we would look into and try to eliminate. So I think there's just, if, any additional specifics would be great on that.
Yeah, and we're doing a couple of experimental offerings this year. One of them are salad wraps, and the other one is actual salads. And so those are a couple. I know we have some principals here, so I don't know how well they see the lunches every day. I don't know how well those are received. I have heard that the salad wraps at the secondary schools have been going very quickly. That happens on Thursday.
And there isn't secondary options for elementary kids, is there? There isn't stuff that they can buy, is there?
For extra purchase, no.
So, I just, I think that's what I think a lot of the issues we're talking about elementary school,
Okay.
where kids can't get those secondary options.
Is there any, traditional foods putting through these menus at all? Salmon, lean meats, things like that, more, I mean, seafood?
Yeah. Not that I'm aware of, but that's, I mean, it's not opposition, yeah.
USDA, and even our USDA, our quantity programs, you get salmon, bison, things like that, beans, wild rice, so.
Yeah,
I'm always advocating for.
Yeah,
At
absolutely.
least I do it all the time with our kids, our students here, is just getting them to try those things.
Yeah.
So I'm always gonna advocate for that.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Hi everyone. Can I just share from this?
I don't know.
part of the impact?
I am, I'm the vice chair.
Go ahead briefly, please.
Just very briefly, OSPI, the nutrition program, and the USDA are reviewing, incorporating traditional foods as reimbursable items. So just wanted to share that. So it's coming down the line.
I thought there was some energy around that. So I've heard some energy around that. And USDA is empowering itself, or being empowered, or being encouraged to incorporate.
Oh, that's good.
Okay, so number 11, I think, kind of ties a little bit into 14, so, the same thing there is just, the same question is, again, formalized reporting, getting it through the investigative process so it can be addressed there. I mean, unless there's any specific, issues you can point to right now.
Okay. What's next?
Yeah, just a question?
Just a comment really, and I really appreciate, I just wanted to note, I've been able to, take part in the, EPIC meetings and just, kinda hear, the feedback, and it's been really good and helpful to hear, from the parents, and I just, appreciate that, and appreciate that you guys have, been inviting me to, or been okay with me joining. And I think that when I look at numbers 11 and 14, what it makes me think of, and I think what was talked about a little bit, is our kids feeling a sense of connectedness and feeling connected, and having those safe adults at school, having people that they trust, and I think that's big. I think that's big when we talk about the bullying and the harassment, no matter whether it's student to student or even staff-student relationships as well. I think being connected and feeling connected and having our kids feel connected, it's a lot more of the social emotional learning work that we have to do, that we keep working on. I know we've seen some really great presentations of the work that's being done, and I would just encourage that our staff at the district really continue that because it's so much, so needed. I think what I was hearing from parents is just that the kids aren't, you're feeling disconnected, right? And you don't feel like you can report it because if you're feeling so disconnected, there's not a good safety net for that. So I just wanted to kind of, I guess, notate that, that's what I was hearing from some of those parents, was that concern too, was the kids in the buildings maybe not feeling connected enough to be able to find those trusted people to do that. And that's really important, and I think that's gonna go a long way in really helping with, you know, those sorts of horrible issues that shouldn't be happening to our kids at school. School should be a safe place, and they shouldn't be feeling that way. So I think the more we can work towards the social emotional learning, the more that's gonna help with that. Thank you for letting me be a part of those meetings, and it's always good to hear from the parents.
Mike, I have a question. Are the kids from Gordon and Wolfley who go to Kingston High School along with the Suquamish kids, are those kids ever connected or done anything together before they get to middle school? Like, you know, maybe, I don't know, a field day or a school lunch? I mean, maybe those kids that all three school districts and buildings, there could be some way for them to connect with each other before they get to middle school. And maybe that would help them all get to know and understand each other better.
Okay. Well, thank you for the comments. So number 10, impact aid, you know, we've had discussions on that. I think that the biggest thing there was, I think we had efforts, in the past to try to separate impact aid. So for better tracking for tribes versus military and such. So I think we still need to continue on that, correct?
Yes, and Mike is behind me, so he
Yeah.
can correct me if I'm wrong, but to the request, sorry, different Mike, our other Mike, he's our finance director. If it's the communication of the dollar amounts received and where it goes, that's a breakdown that Mike's department can do. We would just need to know, do you want that, twice a year, quarterly, what that looks like once a year at this meeting, or when and where would you want that information shared, I guess would be.
I think it would be helpful if it was quarterly, and then I can share, up with prep council.
That'd be awesome. And then, so just send it to you, right? Okay. Number 9, Skyward Google Classroom. You know, the discussions in the past have centered around cybersecurity, which I don't think anything has changed there that I'm aware of. We're still limited on being able to, not being able to create those accounts with non-employees for cybersecurity and risk management reasons. That continues to be the issue that we're having with our risk management with that.
That's accurate. The Skyward piece, we do share, and then I will look down the table somewhere. There's other parts of our team that can help answer, so I'm not really talking, but Skyward we can share. We do share with our academic coaches. Anybody that has a release of information form, we share that information with them, and they can get on and look at the students, that individual student's information. With the Google Classroom, it's more difficult because it opens the entire classroom up to that person, so then they're able to see sensitive information that's protected under, like in a hospital, patients' rights are HIPAA, in school, their rights are protected under FERPA, and so it protects them under the FERPA to where we can't give them access to the Google Classroom. One of the members on our team, when we received the recommendations, suggested that we look into, so this is not a guarantee, but look into, we're using Panorama as a data collection, and so one of the things we're gonna look to see if it's possible, I'm not sure if it is, but we're gonna check to see if there's a way to set up students that have the release of information forms in Panorama, so that information collected, that you can see all of that information. It's become kind of a hub where, like discipline, their student surveys that they fill out, all of that's one place that all that's kept. And so I know our team is checking to see if that's, something that we can do within that system.
Yeah, and also, sorry, just a reminder, there is the Guardian feature within Google Classroom. You know, I'm listed as a, I believe that's the term we use, a guardian. So I get a weekly email that comes out for each one of my children that has a summary of all the assignments that they were assigned for that week, and any notes that were put in by the teacher will also show up there. Any comments that they're making in the classrooms too. So we continue to encourage people to sign up for that feature.
Mike, one thing to add on Google Classroom is
Yeah.
there's a big update. It's scheduled right now for Q2, so anytime, that they're releasing more parent abilities and guardian abilities to see what's in classroom, as opposed to just getting that summary email. And so hopefully within the next few months, families will be able to get a clearer picture of what's existing within the Google Classrooms. And that kind of pairs with an update they did about 6 months ago that allowed us to give all of our Native American liaisons the ability to visit any Google Classroom of any of the kiddos to sort of see what's going on there. But again, as Rachel said, we are only able to do that with the liaisons because they're on staff.
And that was gonna be my question. I wanted to find out if there was some sort of agreement that we can put together, and memorandum of understanding, and then also, is there a way that we could set up, our, coaches to be volunteers and extension of NKSD? So just putting that out there, I think that would be beneficial, and I think the liaisons, having access is really important, but we would need to figure out how to coordinate to make sure that the children are getting the services and support that they need.
Our academic coaches do fill out the volunteers, so they do that. We just have a couple, academic coaches that are coaches for basketball and stuff, so they have access to it, but the other ones don't, so. But they do have the volunteer paperwork filled out and fingerprint and everything to be in the school.
Access, okay. So are the tribal education staff able to sign up as guardians in the Google account then for those students if they have releases then? Is that an avenue that can currently happen?
It's not an avenue because of the way the integration works. It's all born from Skyward, and so it's the guardians identified within Skyward are the ones that automatically are tied to the kid, and that's an integration thing.
Thank you for explaining that. I wasn't sure how they relate, so. I know, yeah, in other cases, like different data share agreements, a different like merit staff employment agreement, MOUs come into place, so I wasn't sure if that linked in the software.
The tricky part for us, and Rachel hit the nail on the head, is FERPA. It's the FERPA law that really keeps those things locked up tight. And so that's what we're really trying to explore, is how we can stay compliant with that, but give as much resource and as much information as possible.
All right, thank you. So number 8 is around committees. I will just say absolutely. You know, we welcome. I'd like to get as many tribal members on our committees as possible. Not just one committee, but we are in the process of advertising for a facilities committee. I think it's really important that we get members from both tribes on the facilities committee to help us kind of forge a path forward, and also when we're looking at facilities like Suquamish and Woodley and Kingston Middle School and High School, I think we talked one time about how we can incorporate artwork into those facilities too. That we'd like to do that, but we just need participation in those committees. So if there's any barrier, any way that if you feel like you don't know what committees are out there or how people get involved, please let us know and we'll forward that information over.
But
Yeah.
one of those other committees is the instructional materials committee, so the one that does curriculum. So absolutely, that would be one where encourage parents, community members of the council, to get on that committee, because every time we look at a new curriculum, that's the committee that's vetting it, that's going out, searching all the various vendors, and then makes the recommendation then to the superintendent of the board of if it's a good committee, if it's a good curriculum, if it meets what we need. There is something on the checklist that talks about if it does meet the since time immemorial requirements, but do they necessarily know who's on that committee? So the more involvement from yourselves and from Port Gamble on that committee, that would be great. Then we know that check really is a true test and not just what we think so.
So I know this was one of our past concerns, so I would like to ask, are you making an ethics committee, and where are you in the process of making an ethics committee if you are?
Sure, we, at this point, I know that the facilities committee is ongoing, met, we're asking for members for that. The finance committee, I don't think has had their first meeting yet. I think they should be. Okay, yeah, that one should be coming up. We'll probably go through the same process about raising those. Really, I think to get the ethics committee up, there just needs to be a clear mission statement for that group. So I think that's what we're kind of doing. Is we don't want to stand up a group without having a charter kind of first in place and kind of having a road for them to go down and do that. The other thing to keep in mind is we're probably pretty close to starting up on just the mission and vision. I think that would probably fall into that too, and do that. So I think just more to follow on this.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. I think 6 and 7 are both around data. I kind of just had a question on that. We received training from the state recently. I can't remember the exact name of the training, but liaison with tribals, tribes, and a lot of the training that we received from the state was that the challenge with data is how it's being coded. Are you guys aware of that? And is that kind of ongoing? Is that basically it's the way the forms are being filled out? You're not actually being counted
Oh, yes, if
correctly?
they fill out more than one, two or
Yeah.
more, just Native American, yes. Yes, so we were trying to figure out a way to help our, families fill those out, and we talked about doing it at our back to school barbecue to help them, and
Okay.
so we can help do those forms as well.
Yeah, cause I think that's before we can actually kind of look at and evaluate the data, we need to make sure that it's accurate, so that's probably the first starting place with that.
Is, ITA, is that still the best way for data, if we wanna get data to you, to share it with you at that, and then you share it back out to
Yes.
council? Okay.
Okay.
There's
Yeah.
a question.
Yes.
So we learned.
So we learned that once a parent fills out a form, starting as early as kindergarten, they don't have to fill out the form again. What we're also wondering, we as in Tony and I, we're just wondering if there's a way to do an audit to make sure that the tribal families who are attending NKSD, even if they filled out their form incorrectly 5 years ago, they could fill out a new form to make sure that their child is counted in that data and in that count.
I think it's worth looking into. I can certainly look into seeing if there's a data pull we can do from Skyward. And then I think that I would probably work with Tony and Brenna to figure out the tricky way to, instead of just asking people, are you sure you're 2 or more? Instead of putting that out in a questionnaire, because they have filled that out and checked that on there. So I think just trying to fill out and figure out an appropriate way to ask some of those questions around, would you like to change your form and make that not seem abrasive to some families? So, but I will look into that with our Skyward person.
And I think in what we talked about at ITPEC with around kindergarten registration, the messaging that we were encouraging was how do you want your child to be identified in terms of data? And do you want your child to be counted as tribal, indigenous, Native American, Alaska Native? And what checking this other box or 2 or more or 1 or more results in, and just offering them that information. And when I say audit out loud, I'm thinking maybe people just have the option to resubmit the form,
Yes,
and
they
it can be updated into Skyward, and then we might see a change in numbers if we put that information out. But I'd be happy to help.
Thank you. Yeah, and kindergarten registration, I think, sorry, I'm looking at our principal over here. I think we already have 25, and this time last year, I think we only had 3 registered. I think it's up to 25, so great job, everybody involved with that.
Okay, number 5 is really, I think, around feedback. So I would really just kind of look for additional information on this. I feel like we're pulling for feedback, but just because I feel like doesn't mean that that's true. So like I look at, what can we do better on this to get feedback, we really lean on panorama, accessibility of the board, the staff. So is there any specific barriers that we're running into for providing feedback? Yeah. And maybe it's happening at the teacher level, the building level, versus more at the staff, board level.
That one has improved with me, meeting with the principals
Okay.
of monthly meetings, so.
Yeah, so I would just know that as a board, we're very interested in that, and we're interested in all 14 of these, but that one doesn't pique my interest, so if you feel like, you or any of the tribal council or most importantly parents are running into barriers to providing feedback or feel like they're not listened to, that's something we'd like to continue brought up to the board.
And we did just get some, our survey for our Native American education program, just came back, and so it's hot off the press, and I know it's gonna be shared it, both ITED and IDPEC. This next time around, I think we had 90 responses, around FAP, so we will have more data to share for next month.
Rachel, we're also about to open the panorama window for families, for our final collection, and so any encouragement you can give the families to fill out that family survey. We take it very seriously, and it all gets disaggregated after it's submitted. So we do look at all the different groups of students. So any help that you guys could provide us with that messaging, it'll be live the last week of April and then the first week of May. That's a great way for families to share their experiences.
And then really 1 through 4, I kind of group those. I kind of see those as ones. Those are things that we can always improve on. They specifically talk about the board and administrative staff. I think that we can always learn more about culture, specific experiences. Most importantly, experiences within the schools. Anything you can provide us that, we're open, we're ready to hear about that. So we appreciate, working through our charter liaison, and just events like this, getting together, and then we also appreciate the training that you provided in the past. We do have a lot of new faces, so we're interested, any additional training that you can provide us to help us learn.
I will just add on that it's been great, meetings with Rachel coming on board. She has been really open and honest with us, and that has happened in the past. So I really do appreciate it.
Good.
And her, so.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So, Rachel, maybe you can address this because you've been at the district office. I heard from some teachers that they were being discouraged from using tribal members to come in as guest speakers since COVID. And I don't know if something has changed or they were told that someone at the district would let them know when they have permission to do that, and it never happened. So, I mean, when I was teaching the 2nd grade before COVID, we went out and visited both tribal,
Yeah,
and that was a problem, but I don't know, something maybe has changed.
and so not that I'm aware of something, if somebody was given that direction, I think I would just say, hear me now. Please, welcome in our classrooms, welcome in our, I would love to see you all tomorrow at the culture fair at Kingston High School. I would love to take part, so just as I'm inviting you, please invite me. I've got 2 kids that should experience, your culture as well, and I would say our staff, so I'm not sure where that came from, but I would just say that's not a belief, certainly not a belief that I have, or the people that work closest with me have, and I don't believe any of our leadership team at this point would have that, and if they are, then I can have a conversation with them.
I was just gonna say, we have, any of our public events, you guys are all invited to. Just the invitation, like Chief Seattle Days, Canoe Journey, any of that kind of stuff. There's a powwow, our renewal powwow isn't 2 weekends, not this weekend, not the next weekend, the weekend after that, the weekend of the 26th. So you guys are invited to that too. Come down, check out some dancers and some drummers and.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else? We're a little over time expected, but not too much over. It's like, thank you for the opportunity to exchange information, and thank our parents for their testimony, and welcome to all of our new council members to this process, and look forward to more work together. We have a lot in common, and we have much to learn from each other, so I have this Squamish tribe, stays in Isway, for this opportunity to meet, and look forward to hearing back from you when you weren't able to go tonight.
Absolutely.
When you have that data.
Yes. no, again, thank you for having us, thank you for the open and honest conversation, again, I think it's really important. You know, you will be getting a response from us, look forward to, future meetings, and I think the most important thing is just, you know, we come here humbly, we're not perfect, we're not doing everything perfect, but we're dedicated to improving, so, just please work with us and we'll, to improve any way we can.
Any protocol during your meetings?
Yes, there is.
Yes.
I thought there might be.
Yes.
Go ahead, anybody else have anything else to add? If anybody else on council,
Yeah.
either side, go ahead.
Yeah, I need the mic for 1 minute. So this is my last meeting on the school board. I made a commitment that if I was elected to city council, that I would step down once the school board had a chance to settle. I feel we've reached that point with appointing Rachel. Spring break's over. And also, some folks will remember, I started my journey in the school board as a candidate. The very first thing I did officially was to come here to this room and introduce myself to you. So I felt it appropriate, symbolic, right, that I ended here. So I actually, that orange folder, I transmitted I am officially resigning as of this evening. This is my, yes.
Sorry.
This is my. So meeting with you all was my last act as a school board director. However, I am still on the Polesville City Council, and I did insist to be part of the city's committee that meets with the tribal council, because I want to continue this relationship as long as possible. So thank you all for welcoming me in the past to events.
Thank you for bringing your heart and soul, all of these, and being vulnerable and transparent with us. And that's not only when we're in a session, but also when we needed information with the various functions that we see each other at. And we appreciate your work, and we're working on a meeting with City Council where we're going to host. So look forward to having you here soon.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else from council, tribal council, or the school board? Any last words? No more last meeting speeches, please. Not that we didn't. Rick earned his.
Yeah, I'll just say, Rick, on behalf of the board, thank you very much for your years of service. We look forward to continue working with you and keep in touch. And most importantly, thank your family for all the time that you give up to allow you to come work with us. So it's been an honor, especially for you, former shipmate, and learning from you in the process. You've been a great example to all of your school board members. So thank you. All right.
Oh, I was just gonna second that real quick, cause
Okay.
I know, just publicly, to thank you, Rick, for your service. You are truly one of a kind, and your dedication to this district, to the school board, to the kids, to this, just all of us has been tremendous. So I just wanna thank you publicly for that. And I know my time on the board has been better because of you. So thank you very much.
Jay, want to
Yeah,
jump
I
in?
just want to say, thank you for all your dedication to the board. I look forward to working with Polesville City Council and Stacey. I have a daughter, Stacey.
I nominate her.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
I feel like I know you.
Okay.
All right, well, the time is 6:45. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.